The information provided on Q2UA's site is for educational purposes only and does not substitute for professional medical advice. Shalom, family. We, the medical team at Q2UA, are here again for a medical minute. We know that the scripture says in James 1:5, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Today we want to discuss wisdom in cell phone usage. The interconnectivity provided by use of the cell phone is vital. However, we want to be sure to ask the Most High for wisdom in all that we do. Literature does demonstrate that cell phones emit radiation. There are, however, conflicting studies about safety concerns regarding cell phone usage. Some studies suggest the amount of radiation emitted is negligible, while others suggest that there are safety concerns including increased risk of brain cancer, reduction in sperm count, headaches, sleep disturbance, infertility, and more. Since these conflicting opinions exist, it is incumbent upon us to do our best to limit exposure out of an abundance of caution. Here demonstrated is a study published in the Journal of American Medical Association. In this study, the team obtained scans of the brain with cell phones in the off position as depicted on the picture in the middle. After 50 minutes, another scan was obtained, which did demonstrate a marked increase in uptake on the scan after having the cell phones on for 50 minutes. What this study does is it simply demonstrates that having the cell phone on and beside your head does cause the brain to consume more sugar. From this, we can at a minimum decide that it might not be wise to place your cell phone at your bedside at night, as this is obviously not a harmless thing. Now, let's quickly review do's and don'ts related to cell phone usage. Do carry cell phones in a radiation protection pouch. Do avoid long stints of social media scrolling. Do plug up your cell phones or tablets away from your bedside. Do wear wired headphones. Turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on your phone if you're not using it. And do monitor usage with children. Don'ts. Don't plug your cell phone up by your bedside at night. Don't hold your cell phone up to your head or avoid holding your cell phone up to your head for long periods of time. Avoid wearing wireless headphones. Try not to carry your cell phone in your pocket for long periods of time. Don't carry your cell phone in your bra for the ladies, and don't do long stints with Bluetooth connection if you can avoid it. This concludes our Q2UA Medical Minute.
All right. Welcome. Salama, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Q2UA Discussions. I am your host, Karis Copeland. The first Friday that I have returned back from the continent of Africa. Shout out to the medical team over at Q2UA. We're going to be doing more here. That was something that I've been working on. I got to get some things set up. Now that I'm back, I can actually fully devote my time and attention to getting that on out to you all, because this information, it is pertinent, it is key. Because really, the secret to life is health. We can quote scripture about being exceedingly abundant, all the other wealth, prosperity, but literally the secret to life is your health. And I had been going through some things earlier. because during my time, I had a couple years where my health had kind of faded on me. And that's because really I wasn't doing what I needed to do. I wasn't really paying attention. I was just moving and walking and, convenience. Convenience is literally a killer because that's complacency. The funny thing is, as I was in Ghana and Burkina Faso, nothing there was really convenient. Everything that they were getting was literally from the soil. Everything. And when it made it to the plate, the food was different. The taste was different. It was literally like more wholesome. Whatever is in this food, that taste is not there compared to the motherland. I was on one of my thought matters and I said, why are we not able to import food from the continent? Why are we not able to provide for at least our brothers and sisters to have access to food, maybe even freeze dried, canned, you name it? You can can sardines, you can can mackerel, you can can fish. But I was thinking, I said, you know what? I guarantee you that food that would be canned over on the continent, I guarantee you it would be so much wholesome for your body. It wouldn't even be funny. You know, health is wealth, but not only that, they know that, they get that, they understand that. You still they're over there 80, 90 years old. They're still doing their thing. They know what the power of a plantain does. They know what to heat something over the fire does. They know what natural provides. Even the taste and the flavor of the peanut was different. But there's one thing that I'm going to tell you, and a lot of people won't want to say or recall. You're going to have a lot of personalities here on YouTube, and let's just face it, as our people are understanding, YouTube is an algorithm. And the algorithm is used for pushing out narratives that the powers that be want to push out. And they've used this narrative for a long time because it's been the same narrative that our people have worked through since we made it to these shores. You're on a narrative of whose thoughts you are supposed to accept, whose opinions you're supposed to accept, even down to the fact that if you don't accept their thoughts or their opinions, then you're looked at or supposed to be looked at as crazy. This is what the algorithm is. All it is just the programmed mechanisms of what we have been exposed to our whole lives. They're just now making it more clear and plain. One of the greatest cons is that when I'm traveling over to the continent, they don't want you to go over to Africa. They don't want you to see. But the reality is that when you go over to the continent, you see the wealth of the continent laid out in front of you, in front of your very eyes. And honestly, they want you to come over so you can access the wealth of the continent to build together, to heal together. They know that they're struggling. They know that they need to heal just as we do. There's a lack of knowledge, and that meets us was as we have a lack of resources. Sorry, that's just how it goes. And they know that that's how it goes because it's intentional for us here in the United States, especially in the West. That has been the multi-generational, multi-century plan. It's just now a lot of us have been able to critique and analyze that plan and wonder why the resources aren't provided. And it's quite simple. When you're talking about supporting an infrastructure, you're actually talking about fighting against a system of control that has been in place for hundreds, if not 2,000 years and over. The problem is that there is a spiritual awakening that has happened all around the world, and that awakening is not stopping, no matter the mouthpieces that look like us, that are graciously funded, that are pushed throughout many areas of cyberspace, the internet, that are able to populate on millions, if not billions, of live feeds for folks to subscribe to because there has been a narrative written for this time, written for a populace. There has literally been a divide that people are now seeing, and they're saying no more of it. This divide isn't just occurring here in the diaspora, but it's also occurring on the continent. It's quite simply a divide of empowerment. understand and rest assured, our brothers and sisters on the continent, our family on the continent, they they look at us. They see us. You want to know why? Because I've never seen, and I mean, I know I have, but I'm going to tell you this: Jordan shoes, Jordan jerseys, Bull shorts, Lakers shorts. Look, all of the American paraphernalia of sports teams that would feature our African American stars. You can't tell me that they don't market us worldwide. You know they do. That has been a system of control. You want to know how they control the continent? As I had stated, through us. So, in their mind, they would rather give up the trillions of dollars of wealth underneath of their feet to engage in an image. That is the ultimate form of mind control. You got to give it up for these folks. They have perfected the ultimate form of mind control on our people. But the problem that they're running into is that there's a brand new day because the tactics to get rid of and delete folks is no longer there. Have you noticed that the traditional tactics are now failing? Gee, I wonder why. Because they think and they thought that the Most High had just basically fallen asleep. He doesn't care about his people. He doesn't care about what the nations have done. And it's a rude awakening. You know, a couple of months ago, as it was purported when Ibrahim Traore had said to the current administration, head administration here in the United States, to not mess with the African Americans. A lot of people did not understand, they didn't understand what that meant. But there have been guiding guidance, principle, policies that these folks, when they come into power, when they come into office, they follow. Because that is how they get their money and their resources and keep their power that gets bestowed to them. I mean, voted upon them, whatever you want to call it. But the reality is that it's a brand new day because way too many of our brothers and sisters here are now seeing everything. The loss of control. That loss of control started with us. And when they realized it, you know what, you want to know what they did and what they always naturally do? They panic. And when they panic, they overreact. And when they overreact, they usually have results that is way beyond what they can control. And then they always come back to us as, well, can you help us now? No. Why? Because we know the tactic. We know the drill. Matter of fact, we just don't know the tactic and know the drill. We actually diagrammed it. We saw the diagram play on out. We saw the playbook work itself on out. We done Sunday, morning. We done Monday morning, armchair quarterback. We done seen the film, plenty of film. No, we're not here to save you. But if you don't save us, what happens to you all? Well, to know what? What happens to us? Well, the worst case scenario is y'all pack us back on up and send us on over to the continent, just like what you all have stated in your Project 2025. I didn't state it. I didn't come up with that agenda. Y'all did. You all only have a little bit of time to enact that project because they're spending about they're spending about $1 trillion every 100 days, supposedly. And they're actually spending more because that's what's being pumped into the economy to make the quote unquote stock market look good. It's fake. The wealth is not here. The wealth is on the continent. It's always been on the continent. Don't believe me? Take a look at what's happening in France. That's what's happening. And it's not just France, it's also Europe, and it's also some other Asian countries. They're fighting over the continent. But they don't want to tell you that they're fighting over the continent because when the continent realizes that the world is fighting over its resources and have been fighting over the resources for the last between 400 to 600 years, with the declarations of the dumb diverses, with all of these other historical items that have declared and portended our removal from that area. Shoot, we've been removed since 70 AD. Let's just face it. They know. Those stories are their traditional stories that's passed down. They have songs that they sing that's passed down. They know. They know who they are. They even know that they come from parts of Europe because they got there after leaving. Oh, and this is in their words, not mine. Leaving Jerusalem, leaving Israel. Their stories are the same. It's just the transliterations have developed over time. I'm sorry. It's practical. You want to know why? I don't think anybody here speaks like William Shakespeare or Chaucer or any of the other medieval authors. You don't. We don't even speak like our our generations back in the 18th and 19th century. We don't even speak like any of our grandparents, great grandparents that were coming off of the plantations. We don't. We're here witnessing a time to where we are beginning to build the relationships. That's what Q2A is all about. We're at the last push of this container. I was a little disappointed, especially going over to the continent and not having procured the final transportation of the container. It's over in Ghana. It's now being stored and slated to go to Ouagadougou. And it's funny because I want to, before I leave, I want to tell you all the story of the not the well yeah the exploits, the adventures. Working with the Burkinabe Shipping Council, working with the customs, with the government of Ghana, working with the shipping agents to ensure that the container can make it into Burkina Faso. There have been laws in Burkina Faso to where many of the heavy duty trucks, basically the shipments, the freight carriers, they have similar trucks, 18 wheelers and things of that nature. But what they do, because they try to optimize, and you'll see some of that here in even in the US, they'll have a 53 footer plus another 53 footer sometimes on the road to optimize. But if you didn't know, I know for the Department of Transportation, I know years ago, they would only be allowed to drive or to be on the road at certain times. So there were certain logistics that you would have to have a coordination. I know that because that's something I had to deal with in my as a young man that was a supervisor at UPS, learning a little bit of the logistics industry. I was glad that I got 2 years there before I went on active duty because I had to learn some things. It actually worked on out with what I was doing as an ammunition technician because you got to ship ammo too. But what was going on was that what ends up happening is that the lack of resources that these countries are experiencing is that when you do have the innovation and you do have the movement to then build, there are other nations that don't have that forethought or really just may not care because they're told to not care, so they continue to tear up other roads. They'll be utilized to tear up the infrastructure of other nations. And something that is, very, very inconspicuous. The governor of Burkina Faso said no. They came on out with that back in August. It went into effect. They actually came on out with the information back in before that, I believe, May timeframe. So they gave a fair warning to the regions. And with Ghana, they did not want to heed, and that created a little bit of an international backlash. And that backlash had caused a little bit of a ripple effect, especially with shipping, because the Burkinabe Shipping Council, they are the ones that literally oversee the shipments from the port of Tema over not just into Burkina Faso, but also into Niger and Mali, the rest of the Sahel. So unfortunately, we got caught up into that type of political ease. But you want to know what? I'm glad we did, because I'm glad that I was able to get that understanding. I'm glad that I was able to understand what that logistics component looks like as we begin to move and operate on the ground, because you want to know why? Because we're just getting started. It's not a one and done. We're just getting started. In a few weeks, I should have all of the data. I will be presenting that to our Q2UA volunteers and members. And matter of fact, I will provide a link to the video, because that will be a report. That will be a visual report. I'm not going to shotgun that. If you want to have access, I'll have a community post that will take you to the video so you can see, and you can go from there. Because with all of the adversity, it wasn't to stop us. It was to have us understand that this is how we need to operate next time. Next time. Next time. Let me tell you how gracious and awesome our Ghanaian and Burkinabe brothers and sisters are. They were doing everything in their power. Look, they weren't liking me in a couple different areas. They did not like how I was doing things. I had to put on my Captain Copeland military hat. And I had to show them why I was great at my job in some major commands that I worked in. I had to show them why I never saw bureaucracy as an obstacle, only a challenge. That was always able to be conquered. And I conquered, because the Most High would always give me a boldness. They weren't used to that. They weren't used to this almost high yellow, orangish Negro coming on over and asking the questions and getting an understanding and saying, who do you call? How do you need to call? How does this go? Where does this go? I'll be back. I'll be back. Da 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 da. Except I didn't ride off in shades in a Harley, especially in those roads. And that bike would have been done flipped. I would have done broke my neck on, and still been waiting for 2 hours for an ambulance and 2 hours to get to the hospital. let me let me stop. It is not a tumor. But you want to know what? They appreciated that. They appreciated what that looks like, to be able to be challenged, to be able to get an understanding of how you conduct business with urgency and what it looks like for our brothers and sisters here to engage with them. Because honestly, that's how we engage with ourselves. We are always expecting the best from ourselves and for others. No one that I've ever experienced, especially within our community, when we know how to motivate ourselves, I never see we aren't lackluster performers at all. When I'm able to engage with my students, even the students that don't do so well in other classes, when I'm able to talk to them, when I'm able to demonstrate to them, when I'm able to reach and see what motivates them, do you know? I just naturally, I'm able to draw out the best because it's not me, it's the Most High that operates in me that helps me to work with others. Because we always are in a position to where we have to be able to be thinking, to be circumspect, to be engaging. We always want the best, not just for ourselves, but for others. We always want to help others. We always want to teach and engage and train. That's what we do as a people. I can't teach you. No, you need to pay me money. I can teach you. I'll teach you if you pay me. Now, come here. Let me show you this. Now, we don't want to be taken advantage of. No, we don't. But that's our heart. That's our nature. So, family, as I had stated yesterday, we're about 2,000 away. We're working on getting the final transportation element. These were always the unknown variables, the unknown unknowns. And now we're able to document these lessons learned because it's very valuable. Wealth isn't just in minerals or resources. It's not in cash or any other fiat or fake currency. Wealth is actually in processes. Wealth is in processes. When you understand the processes, that actually builds wealth. That builds the value. I truly am excited to see how this plays out at towards the end. Because when it does, now that we've gotten this container through, what else can we do? Where else can we build? What else are we able to move through? What else? What other challenges can we have a successful impact in? This isn't me. This is you all. All I'm providing is just the vision and the guidance. But it's you all that helps me with the heavy lifting. Nobody can get things done by themselves. That's impossible. But the most successful people get things done with a team, with an organization, with a group of like minded individuals. So, family, with that said, I got to get going. A lot of things that I need to get accomplished on the continent. Folks are they're it's a Friday. They're trying to get things done, and I do not blame them. I really don't. Hallelujah. But family, again, thank you for your support as we close out the rest of this endeavor. This has been a grand endeavor. It's been a truly awesome endeavor. And again, we're just getting started. Because quite simply, as a people, we don't have a choice. But that's what the Most High does. He'll continue to limit and limit and limit because that's how he does. That's how he moves. Oh, you gonna get the work. You gonna get that thing done. Oh, you're gonna get that thing done. You may be defiant with getting it done, but you're gonna get it done. But that's how we serve a loving Father. And he is so patient with us, it's not even funny. But he is also so gracious with us. He provides more than what we can even think or imagine. It's truly amazing. And it's overwhelming too at the same time. But the only thing that we have to do is literally just take the first step. That's it. It's just taking the first step. So, family, with that said, I have to get up on out of here. Thank you for your support for this organization. Thank you for your prayers for this organization. If you have any family members that would like to volunteer, we need help with our IT. If you have family in IT, please encourage them to sign up. I believe that right now, this is really the time that we're going to have in order to do our recruitment efforts because literally the work is plentiful, but the laborers are few. We are literally at that season. I will be calling for a fast Tuesday night. Tuesday night from sundown to Wednesday night to sundown, a 24-hour fast. There are a lot of spiritual walls that we have to break down. And that's truly through the Most High's power. So, with that said, that's all I got. Be blessed. And with that, salama and Madoesi. That's thank you. Take care, everyone.